we are in store for a treat, because not only do we get to talk about Bill and Ted, we get to talk about it with two historical babes. So make some noise for Diane Franklin and Kimberley Kates. Awesome. You guys, thank you so much again for taking the time. I'll kick things off. My questions will be for both you guys, and then we get a little time, we'll start calling out for audience questions. So I want to take it back to the beginning if we could. How was the project first presented to you, and what were your first impressions?
Wow. I think you probably want to start with...
For the first Bill and Ted's? I was just beginning acting. I think I'd been acting for 3 months, literally. And I was just hoping that I could read the script, which I didn't. I was up for Missy and one of the princesses. And I went in, read the role for the princesses. I didn't even know really what this was about, didn't know anybody in it. I was like completely just arrived off the bus from Idaho practically. I did not know what was going on. And read for it, read for one of the princesses. They really liked it. They applauded, which I thought was a normal thing, but I guess it wasn't.
Wow.
Applauded, and then I didn't even want me to read for Missy. They just wanted me for one of the princesses. And so it happened very quickly. Next thing I knew, I was on the plane with Keanu and George Carlin and flying to Rome.
Wow, amazing. Diane?
And for me, I actually I had finished Better Off Dead. So when I got the merci buckets, so I had just finished the film and I thought, well, they're having me come in for Joan of Arc, obviously, right? They wanted me to read for Missy also, but I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to talk to existence, and they would want me for Joan of Arc. And they went, no, because I guess Joan of Arc doesn't talk in the film, which I never realized until I saw it afterwards.
That would never work for you.
Right? It was like, what? So, So then, all of a sudden, the director looked at me and said, can you do a French accent? No, an English accent. And I said, well, of course I can do an English accent. And I talk like this. And I said, I'd love, it's very easy. I can do this. And they were like, oh my God. Oh, dude, this is excellent. And they were like, yes, would you be willing to play a princess? And I was like, sure. I didn't even realize that the princesses were such a crucial part of the story. And it was like, okay, sure. And of course, it is totally excellent to be a princess. I mean,
hell yes.
It is. I mean, it took me a while to go, okay, I'm actually playing a princess. And we were so lucky to be in the first one because we got to wear the beautiful dresses and we got to go to Rome, Italy to shoot it. So it was triumphant. It was excellent.
I bet it was most triumphant. So I do want to ask what your memories are of the original ending, or endings, I guess I should say, which Bill and Ted fans have still yet to see.
Well, that was the first scene that we shot was in Arizona. I think it was Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah.
And we shot it in the high school there, and we went to the prom. So we arrived with George Carlin in the phone booth in the gymnasium, and and I just found recently a photo with Bill and Ted with the shorts on and their tuxes. I just found it in my basement. It'd been hidden forever. I don't know why, but right after the movie, I met up with a photographer and I got about 30 or 40 photos. I just photos are going to be important one day. Right. And so I got all these photos that Alex and Keanu, none of them had, and I just sent it to Alex last week, and he tweeted it out. So that was kind of fun.
Oh, that's
but
awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun, that whole ending. We went to the prom with them.
So there is footage of us going to the San Dimas prom with Keanu and Alex, and the guys have their tuxes, but they cut the pants off, and they're wearing high tops. And I really, truly believe that no tux shop would have been safe if that ending had been in the first film.
True.
Oh, man.
No tux shop. It would have been tux nightmare.
Oh, for sure.
Because
everybody would have been cutting those pants short.
Absolutely. Yeah. And girls would be wearing medieval prom dresses to the prom. So that would have been cool. But
yeah, our dresses are still timely.
Yeah, they are.
They are.
Oh, definitely.
How many of you would have worn, would you have gone to the prom with the cutoff on the knee and the prom dresses. I mean, it would have been awesome. Totally. Yeah.
Very cool. So actually, you touched on something I wanted to ask you guys about. It's one aspect of the film that I feel doesn't get enough love and enough respect. Is the multitude of amazing costumes, like both, the period clothes and also the awesome 80s fashion. So I was wondering if you guys had any memories of that.
I just remember we had a really excellent costume designer, and I don't really remember much about it. I mean, I do remember I had to bring some of my own dresses, like the nightgowns when we were on the precipice, right? Out on the castle, the balcony scene, we were wearing my nightgowns. That's actually, I remember that about costumes, is that I brought a bunch of sort of medieval kind of antique-y dresses with me. And I love that I love that, wearing those clothes. I probably wore Bill and Ted's kind of clothes for like 5 years after the movie.
Yes.
I just couldn't get out of the princess thing. It was really fun.
I still dress like it's Bill and Ted time, so. So another one I wanted to ask, what were your first impressions of meeting Chris and Ed?
Well, she didn't remember Ed. She thought she was tweeting Ed recently, and she was tweeting the wrong Ed the whole time.
That was really funny. Okay, there was an Ed that I knew on the production, and there was a guy named Ed who got me into meeting the Bill and Ted's people. He was a big fan of Last American Virgin. I don't know if anyone knows. How many of you know Virgin? Ow! All right, thank you. And I knew him, and he got me in, and I thought it was Ed Solomon, but I don't think it was. It was a different
It wasn't Ed
Ed.
Solomon. So she was tweeting that.
And I was going, "Oh, Ed, thank you for getting me in the film." And he's like, "What? I did? Oh yeah, maybe I did." So it's very.
It'd be
funny.
really funny if it was like Ed O'Neill or some other like.
Right. That would be really, really funny.
But I remember
Edward
the first time that we met them, we all had a dinner in Italy. With Chris and Ed, we all had this big dinner with all the cast, and I remember Ed was flirting with me a lot. And we were drinking a lot of wine. That's what I remember of Ed, and then I kind of don't remember much after that.
Wow. Okay, well, that's a pretty good story. So
but
I do want to get...
nothing happened, as far as I know.
It's lonely for writers. So one more I do want to ask before we turn it over to the audience. How crucial do you guys think Stephen Herrick was to the success of Bill and Ted?
Well, I think Stephen Herrick was super underrated for the first one, and I hope that they found the same heart for this last one they did that they had for the first one. I think that Stephen Herrick, coming from an editing background, really made a difference in the way the whole film came together. I think editors make really great directors a lot of times, and they could just see, the shot, whatever they want to do. But I think Stephen Herrick played a huge part in making the first one as special as it was.
Sure.
Yeah, I have to say, what I really liked about him was, as a director, was he was very made us feel very comfortable. He was a good director. He knew what he wanted, and I think that first Bill and Ted, there was something, that movie, it captured so much. It captured our relationships. It was kid-friendly anybody could watch it. And when you're making a movie, you have no idea. From the script to the end of the production, you don't know what it's going to be. Nobody does until it's done.
Yeah, we were told the film was never going to get released.
Right, that's something I wanted to ask about too. Did you guys? It sat in the can for about 2 years, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I think they went through bankruptcy. All sorts of things happened. But I had casting people telling me that, "Oh, the film's terrible. You should take that off your resume."
But I'll tell you something. They think it's terrible because at that time, if you were if you were a reviewer, right, and movies were in the theater, and you had to pay money to put movies in theater, and you had to bring your audience out of their chairs at home and bring them to the movie theater, you had to put something sensational in the movie theater. So here's a movie that was very benign. It was like, how are we going to get them? They can watch this on TV. So I think a lot of times it was difficult to get the people in the entertainment business to believe that something like this was going to be popular. They didn't realize, yes, people will come out of their houses to go to a movie to actually laugh and have fun and have it not be gratuitous or, vulgar or exploitive. it was a really big deal for us in the 80s for movies that are made like, the John Hughes films or the all those, so many 80s films that came out that there was nothing gratuitous, but you went because it was fun to bring your friend or your girlfriend or boyfriend to the movies, and you guys had a good time. So I really think it was a shock for filmmakers, or the money people, not the filmmakers, but the people who would put money down in a film. So I'm glad it happened.
Bill and Ted's was for 3 weeks in a row, it was number 1 at the box office when it came out. So it was a pretty, I love the rags to riches stories. That was it.
I was definitely one of those people seeing it multiple times in theaters, even as young as I was then.
Oh, awesome.
So in that period, the 2 years, I mean, had you guys like written the film off? You just think, oh, this is never going to come out? Like, you just kind of, forget all about it?
I almost forgot about it, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I was asking about it, but then, you move on to other work and you just hope. At that time, putting a film out was a bigger deal than now because it was just harder to get the distribution. So you're kind of used to waiting for things. So we were kind of just waiting around. What's going on with it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And we just were like, yeah, that was fun doing that film.
Well, so I do want to give a chance for the audience to jump in, guys. Anybody have any questions out there?
Hello.
Hi.
Have you ever heard of a series called Epic Rap Battles of History?
Have you guys heard of Epic Rap Battles of History? What's this question?
No, what is that?
I like that. I like it. What is it?
They do a whole lot of pop culture and history, rapping each other.
So it's a rap battle?
Yeah. And one of the episodes is actually Lewis and Clark versus Bill and Ted.
Oh my gosh, that must have been so funny.
It is.
I want to watch that.
Oh, how cool. I don't know anything about
If
this.
you want, I can show you later. I got it on my phone.
You have it on your phone?
Yeah.
All right. You want to show me later?
Sure.
All right, good. We'll do it. We'll see. Show us later.
Okay.
I'll show you later.
All right, awesome.
Thanks so much.
Love it.
Yay, give me a round of applause.
Anybody else out there want to jump in?
Hello.
Hi.
What do we have to do as like fans of the movie to get you guys to be in the upcoming sequel that they're going to be doing? What can we do?
He wants what happened with the upcoming sequel?
Yeah, to bring back the princesses.
Yes, bringing back the princesses. Well, funny you should bring that up. We would have loved to have been in Bill and Ted's 3. How many of you know about Bill and Ted's 3? Okay, good. All right. So we're very excited about it. We really wanted originally to be in it. We let the producers and everybody know that we were into it, and we made it very, very easy for them to make that happen. And unfortunately, they decided to go a different way, which
Strange things were afoot
at
in Bill
the
and
circus.
Ted's 3.
So is it too late?
And in fact, we weren't brought in. It's too late. They shot the film, they finished it, and we even thought at a certain point that they said they might be interested in us doing a cameo. Nothing. So I know. Look at the faces. Everyone's like looking at each other. And can I just say something?
Bill and Ted were not excellent to us.
Well, I just have to do this for my own sake. If you guys want to see them in the 3rd Bill and Ted, make some noise right now. If that would mean a lot to you, seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys are the princesses in all our hearts and minds. So.
We have been plotting our revenge.
Very cool. So
The Princess's Revenge.
that's a great movie right there.
Yeah,
I'm
it might
sold.
I
happen.
think so. I've been talking to some of my comedy writer friends that have some good ideas.
Just please take my money now. I will pay in advance. I will pre-sale tickets. I'll buy a block of tickets, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes,
This matters, yeah.
absolutely. So we do have time for one last one. If anyone out there has any other questions they want to ask, right up here in the front. Memories of working with George Carlin.
Oh, yes, I do. I didn't really know who George Carlin was when we got to make the movie, and I found out about him much later, but we went to Rome, and we all toured the Vatican together, which I got kicked out of because I had too short of a skirt on, even back then. And George Carlin had to talk to the priest to try to convince them to let me walk in with everybody. So Keanu gave me his jacket and had it tied around my waist, and then I was able to get in. So I love that George Carlin talked to the priest about letting me get into the Vatican.
That's pretty great, right?
And then he philosophized in his Carlin-esque way with me for over an hour when we did the alternate ending of the movie. We sat for an hour in his trailer, and he just was so deep and so serious and so, I don't know, just incredible about telling me about life. And he had suffered a heart attack and everything that was important about life. I wish I would have been able to record it now, because it was like the most magical things he was saying, and beautiful. And he was just a very deep, thoughtful, caring human being. There was nobody really like him. I found out about him, who he was, and watched all his work later. And I didn't realize how fortunate I was to work with such a genius. So that's my George story.
Awesome.
And I just want to say my experience with him was I knew him as a comedian. I knew him as a raucous, outspoken comedian who was hilarious and was crude and rude and said things that we would never dare say. And when I met him, he was the most genteel, lovely man. Nice to meet you. Pleasure. My name's George. Right? It was so just trippy when I first met him. In fact, Keanu and Alex also were very surprised at how well-mannered he was. So I just want to say it was a gift, and I always am amazed when people come have me sign autographs. I always go, don't you want the one with George in it? Because he was, to me, the special person in the film. So it's kind of interesting,
I do know that his daughter's in the third one.
His daughter's in the
Yeah.
third one.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. So George was also the last person to be cast, right?
What's that?
Was he one of the last people cast, I think?
Yeah, you know what? He was. They were casting other people for George Carlin's part, and then last minute they got George.
Wow.
So it is interesting. I forgot who else was in consideration.
Playing for Rufus?
Yeah, for Rufus.
I've heard interviews where people say they were throwing out all these crazy names, and it was like every day it was a different horrible take for who should Rufus be.
Yeah.
And then everyone was so relieved when they found out it was George Carlin.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, I don't see anybody else playing that role but him.
And it's funny, I didn't, when I first saw the film, I hadn't seen his comedy or anything like that. I was very young. And so forever, I was like, Rufus does stand-up comedy?
Oh my God, that's right. See where you come from, you see that point of
Totally.
view.
Yeah.
And so here, that's this example, again, from the time you write the script to the end, it's always a surprise. And I think their interpretation of Rufus was very different at the beginning to what it wound up being cast as.
I could see that.
I just worked with Rick Overton, who played Rufus in the Bill and Ted's TV show. I just directed him in something that I just directed a Christmas film,
wow.
and I worked with him. He was wonderful. So he played Rufus in the TV show.
Oh, that's so cool.
He's a comedian, also a stand-up comic.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
she was in the Bill and Ted's TV show as well.
I played Missy in the Bill and Ted's pilot.
Oh my gosh, wow. I have to go back and rewatch that show now.
Yeah,
It's
I
been a
much
minute.
preferred playing a princess. I much preferred it.
And Savage Steve Holland, who directed Better Off Dead, directed the pilot.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that's kind of a cool thing?
It's such
That
a
is
small
yeah.
little
Isn't that cool?
world.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. Well, unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but give these lovely ladies a nice round of applause.
And we love the Bill and Ted's fans. You guys are the best.
Excellent.
Be
So come to our table and we'll say hello.
Yes, do go to their table. They have a lot more stories about this movie that we could definitely not unpack in a half hour. So thank you guys so much again.
This is John Glover, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Lionel Luther recommends it. Have some fun. Follow your fandom.